if we had to trade Jason Tatum for Kawhi Leonard, I'm leaving town.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily podcast on fantasy basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me as always on Twitter at redrock_bball. Another Tanktastic day in the NBA with weird lineups all over the place. So we're going to talk about those 6 games. We're going to try and preview the 6 games for Thursday with, again, weird shit likely on the slate again. So, Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it again. Just your daily reminder that do not play fantasy leagues at this time of the year because it is absolutely, completely a shit show, as we're going to illustrate in these games that went down on Wednesday. But we will start with the monstrous line of the night. The monstrous line of the night is also the waiver wire line of the night. It's E'Twaun Moore of the New Orleans Pelicans. Moore had 30 points, including 7 triples with 1 rebound, 4 assists, 3 steals, a block, and he was 11 of 16 from the field, which is obviously a fantastic number there. Moore has been really impressive, especially recently where he is a top 60 player over the last 2 weeks, in large part because he's shooting 52% from the field and 46% from 3. But if we're going to be honest about it, that's not far off what he's been doing all year. Moore is a 50% shooter from the field all season, over 42%, almost 43% from three-point land. He's averaging 12.5 points with 1.6 triples. Part of the big reason for his recent uptick in value is he has really gotten the three-point attempt rates right up. He's at 3.7 threes per game on average for the year, but over the last 6 games, he's up to 4.7 per game. And when you start hitting them at an extra 3% on top of what's already an elite level conversion percentage, your fantasy numbers are really going to stick up. His steal rate is up over that time as well, up to 1.5 steals. He's only at 1 steal per game for this season and got his assists almost pushing up to 3 per game. So it is somewhat of a hot streak, fueled by the increase in three-point attempts, which is nice, but also that increased assist rate, increased steal rate, and his minutes are actually fewer over the last 2 weeks than what they have been all season. I wouldn't say that Moore is 100% a must-own guy because I'm not sure that that sort of level of shooting will persist, nor those 6 attempts or 5 attempts from 3 per game, hitting 2.5 per game, whether that will persist, or that higher steal rate, which has not been something that he has necessarily been known for throughout his career. Over the last 6 games, he's at 1.8 steals per 36. This year per 36, 1.1. Last year, 1. The year before that, 1.1. The year before that, 1.4. So we're talking well above career norms. But if you need some efficient three-point shooting, E'Twaun Moore can be your guy, because I'm telling you now, his role is not going anywhere, and that's more than I can say for a lot of different players across the NBA and on waiver wires everywhere. The young gun of the night is DeJounte Murray of the San Antonio Spurs. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe yesterday I said that he could be a nice DFS option because you never know when he's going to have one of these big scoring nights, and here it was. 23, 10, and 6 with 2 steals and a block. So the numbers that he normally produces were there. The big rebounds, the steals, the out-of-position blocks, decent assists. But when he has one of these random scoring nights, it turns into a fantastic fantasy performance. He was 7 of 12 from the field and 9 of 13 from the free throw line. He's barely outside the top 120 for the season. And in large part, that's because his free throw percentage is poor. It is a decent-sized negative. Actually, I am completely mistaken. Let me go through those numbers again because I was looking at the wrong issue. He's outside the top 175 for the season because he's playing only 21 minutes per game. But over the last 2 months where he is playing 27 per game, or basically since he's been a starter in San Antonio, he's a top 80 guy, averaging 10.8 points with 6.7 rebounds, 2 steals per game, half a block on 48%. Now, the free throws are still an issue. He's at 66% there from the line, but he provides such a weird skill set that it can be useful. But of course, it's got to make sense on your team. If he is on your waiver wire, which is a possibility, he's owned in only 41% of leagues, so he could be available on wires. He's a guy whose role I don't think is going to change too much here down the stretch. He's going to be at this 27 to 30 minute mark. He's going to get you really high rebounds, 7 rebounds per game, 2 steals per game, 4 assists per game, half a block, and with 10, 11 points. There is value in that. It's not going to help people who want high volume field goal percentage or big scoring or lots of threes or anything like that. But we know what Murray can do, and again, consistency in role is a really, really big key factor, and I think he's got that pretty much locked up at the moment. The dud of the night. Jonas Valanciunas, 4 and 5, 2 of 8 shooting, and Valanciunas has been a surprise to me this year. Not that I didn't think that he could do it. It was more that the minutes surprised me. He's the 79th ranked player for the season, but today's one was terrible. Under 14 minutes after getting at least 20 minutes in the previous 7 games. So a little bit of a surprise. But we saw this happen to him much earlier in the season, where there was this big string of playing time where he was seeing under 20 minutes per game. And you thought, well, how is he going to be able to sustain value in that limited playing time? That changed. He looked good, but this is obviously coming at an inopportune time for those of you who are still alive in your leagues. I don't really know what to make of Valanciunas. I've been a big fan of his, and I know that he is 100% a top 40 fantasy guy if he played 30 minutes a night. Will he ever play 30 minutes a night? Probably not. And I'd say 100% definitely not, as if he remains a member of the Raptors. Now, getting traded to another team could be a possibility, but he could actually see his minutes lowered further next year. He's already gone down from 26 minutes per game, which is what he played the previous 3 seasons, down to just 22 minutes per game this year. Amazingly, he is averaging more points this season than he did last year. He is hitting the 3 ball at a high rate. Rebounds are marginally down. Blocks are actually higher than where he was last year, as are his assists. So his per 36 numbers are significantly improved this year as opposed to last year. An extra 4 points per game per 36. Obviously an increase in threes, increase in assists, increase in blocks, and an increase in true shooting percentage up to 63%. But I think that there is an opportunity or a possibility that Jakob Poeltl becomes the Raptors' starting center next season, and pushing Valanciunas, even if Poeltl doesn't start, pushing Valanciunas from a 22-minute role into a 20-minute role or a 19-minute role. Or maybe he sticks at 22 and 21 and Poeltl gets 26. But I can see some sort of change happening for Valanciunas next season. I think for this year, you still have to hold him. He's still been a consistent top 100, top 90 guy for nearly all of the season outside of the last couple of games. And that's really, really helpful. But clearly a game like this is not an ideal scenario as you battle away at your championship for fantasy. Let's get into these 6 games now and see what, if anything, we can work out from the craziness that did go down across the NBA. The first game that we are going to look at is the Dallas Mavericks and the Orlando Magic. And I talked about this, I believe I talked about this yesterday, saying that Dallas was a chance to sit a fair few guys, and how would Orlando respond to that? Well, it turns out that happened for both those teams, and they just sat everybody. The Mavericks sat Dennis Smith Jr., Harrison the Pencil Barnes, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwight Powell, and then they had JJ Barea and Salah Mejri leave the game early. Barea is now out for the rest of the season. So Smith should be back next game, but that gives more minutes for Aaron Harrison and Yogi Ferrell there also. These other players like Powell and Nowitzki and Barnes, they should return next game, but there's going to be some weirdness going on. For the Magic, there was no John Simmons, no John Isaac, unsurprisingly. But Frank Vogel said, well, Dallas, we see what you're doing, and Nick Vucevic also isn't going to play, so he rested in this game. So, in essence, just a whole bunch of shit lineups with zero consistency or zero predictability moving forward. But let's talk about a couple of things that happened. Maxi Kleber, who was playing well, he got limited to 12 minutes because he was playing so well. 12 points in those 12 minutes with 2 triples, didn't miss a shot. But of course, if you're playing that well, you can't see the floor again. Well, John Motley got the start, 14 and 8 for Motley in 41 minutes, and Aaron Harrison played 42 minutes. That just shows you how tanktastic this game was. Asa Harrison had 13 and 4, not bad. Motley 14 and 8, not bad. Dorian Finney-Smith 14 and 6. Jalen Jones 16 and 7. Kyle Collinsworth, probably the most intriguing line here is Collinsworth, 13, 9 and 6 in 35 minutes. And with Barea done, maybe Collinsworth becomes useful. But you've got 4 guys who could return to this lineup and probably play 130 minutes next game, taking away any potential of Harrison, of Collinsworth, of Motley, of whichever other bullshit player you want to consider there from being consistent options. Or they could just say, we're not playing any of these guys again, those bigger name players. There is so much in flux there, but it was an encouraging performance, especially from Harrison, Collinsworth, and Motley. On the Magic side of things, Bismack Biyombo started 12 and 12 with 5 assists, a steal, and a block. That's good production from Bismack, but Vooch should be back next game. The only really interesting thing here, I think, is the play of Mario Hezonja. Again, really peaking, 12, 8, and 4, 2 steals and 3 blocks for It's-A-Me. His minutes are up, and as long as Simmons and Isaac remain out, he should be able to keep that level of production, or at least that level of playing time going, and he's a 12-teamer. As Gordon, couldn't extend him too much, only 26 minutes, 20 points with 4 rebounds means you hold on, while Kem Birch got a real bump, and that's 2 nice games in a row from Birchie, 10, 8, and 5 with 2 blocks. He is my random player that will win a monstrous line of the night before the season is over, so let's see how that goes, but that's nice there from Kem, while Jamel Artis had 18 points, very Bojan Bogdanovic-like. He had nothing else, no rebounds, no assists, no steals, did have a block, while Rocket Rodney Purvis had 7 points in 23 minutes, and Weza Wundu played 32 minutes. DJ Augustine had been crushing it, but his minutes have been well down the last 2. You want to move on from him? Do it. While Shelvin Mack, he played 27 and had 13, 3, and 9. He feels like the more consistent of the point guards in Orlando now. Augustine, again, was playing too well, so he must have his minutes limited so that shit kickers can get in there and really try and lose the game. The Magic actually ended up winning this one, though, much to, I'm sure, the coaching staff and management's chagrin. The Philadelphia 76ers and the Detroit Pistons, the Sixers kept it rolling. Benny Simmons had 16, 6, and 7, while Markelle Fultz 4, 2, and 4. Again, nothing to see for Fultz for any sort of league outside of very deep ones this year for redraft. Ilyasova started once again in place of Dario Saric, 13 and 11 in 33 minutes for Ilyasova, but the shooting was horrible. I still think that he is a guy to own, while Rashawn Holmes, what's he play, 17 minutes and 28 minutes, and then back down to 19 minutes. 11, 3, and 3 with 3 steals is obviously really good, but those minutes are so up and down that in a 10-teamer or maybe a 12-teamer, you may be, and you won't necessarily, but you may be better off using his spot for streaming. Bob Cove's late season excellence continued, 12, 4, and 2, 2 triples, 3 steals and 2 blocks, while Bellinelli had 19 with 4 triples, and JJ Redick had 25 with 5 triples. Elite points and 3-point streamers, both of those guys, with Redick feeling safer with Bellinelli having a higher upside, I believe. On to the Pistons, no Blakey Griffin, so Tone Tolliver went off again. 7 triples for 25 points, 5 rebounds. You know you're getting threes and points from Tolliver. While Reggie Jackson only played the 20 minutes, 1 of 11, so Ish Smith got extra playing time. 28 minutes for Ish, 14, 3, and 12 with 2 blocks. Sexy, but I don't think it's anything that bears monitoring too closely. Whereas Jackson still had his 7 assists, but he'll likely go back to that 28, 29 minutes next game. Andre Drummond was sick before the game, but ended up playing 38 minutes and having 13 and 15, while Stan Johnson put up another strong game, 19, 5, and 4 with 3 steals. I think at this point you have to consider him a steal streamer only, but that could very quickly change given how he's playing in these last couple. And Jim Ennis returned and played 7 minutes, and that's what should happen. Let's give these minutes to Johnson. Let's give them to Lukey Kennard, who played 25 minutes and had 12, 4, and 2. The next game we'll take a look at, a rematch of Tuesday's action, the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks. The Heat smashed them in this one, a 30-point deficit. Joshy Richardson, the Heat rested Dwayne Wade, Jim Johnson, and the Iron Shoulder, Goran Dragic. So Josh Richardson, he stepped his pussy right up, 19, 4, and 2 with 2 triples, 3 steals, and 4 blocks. This is why he is an excellent fantasy player. This is why he is, in my opinion, the Heat's best player, or at least equal best player with Goran Dragic. And he's really good, and it was fantastic here. Again, very hard to analyze what any of this means from an ongoing point of view because nobody played more than the 27 minutes that Richardson and Justice Winslow did. Minutes were spread everywhere. There's 3 rotation players to return. Olynyk had 23 minutes. Whiteside only played 21. Derek Jones Jr. played 12 minutes. So very hard to, in a game that was this out of control, to really view how any of this makes sense moving forward, especially when Wado, Jimmy, and the Iron Shoulder return. For the Atlanta Hawks, you'll be stunned. You'll be stunned to know this. But in a game that the Hawks weren't in contention of winning, Taurean Prince played his regular load of minutes. Stunning. I'm so shocked. I thought that maybe the reason he played 10 minutes yesterday against the Heat because it was just such a bad matchup and he couldn't hang with the Heat. Maybe that's why he only got 10 minutes, and because Tyler Dorsey was just so much better, and we needed to see 38 minutes of Damian Lee, and Prince just couldn't match up against Miami. Or maybe that was the reason. That's what people on Twitter were telling me all last night. The Hawks haven't intentionally lost a game all season. They're not coaching to lose. What are you talking about? Maybe Prince just isn't that good, and we loved what we saw from Tyler Dorsey. Or maybe your head's far up your ass and the coach is deliberately trying to lose games. Either or. I'm not sure which one it is. Anyway, Prince was back. 20 points, 4 assists and 3 triples. Good numbers from him. Let's just hope they don't get close in any other games, because then his minutes will get cut. The Undertaker was back after his sore rib. Must have really been hurting. 6 and 8 in 22 minutes, while the Baptist had 9, 8 and 4. John Collins struggled a bit, but both him and Dedmon should be owned. We had some names out of the blue playing here. Jeremy Evans, yes, he is playing for Atlanta. He saw the court. Isaiah Taylor struggled, 2 points in 19 minutes, but I think he can remain a 12-team league guy, while Tyler Dorsey was solid again, more of a streamer, going to hurt your field goal percentage. And Damo Lee dropped in another 15 points also. And I think that I'd have Lee over Dorsey as a 12-team league player, but I could see reasons why either of those guys could be owned. The Moose had 0 points, while Miles Plumlee, getting out 22 minutes worth of Miles Plumlee, 2 and 7 there for Miles. Really, 20-team leagues, maybe? That's about it. Speaking of Tanktastic, the Memphis Grizzlies, Marshawn Brooks was back, and he was electric. 25, 4 and 7, 2 steals and 5 triples. Now, I 100% refuse to believe that Marshawn Brooks is this sort of a shooter. There is absolutely zero chance that that is the case. And if you're on an ESPN league, you don't even have the option of adding him, because whoever's doing that is dropped the ball completely, and that is an absolute embarrassment, and they should fix that. If you listen to this podcast and you're from ESPN, get your shit together and add Marshawn Brooks to the waiver wire. Anyway, he should be considered ownable in a Yahoo league or in any other league, but this level of shooting won't continue. But again, it's very hard to understand how the rotations are going to work each game. No Wayne Selden, no JaMychal Green, no Andy Harrison, no Tyreek Evans. Now, I don't think that Tyreek is going to play again this season, but I'm not sure about Harrison, Green, and Selden. And again, that's 3 guys of 20 to 32 minutes per game that need to add into that rotation. Does Marcus Teague lose playing time? Probably. Mike Henry, Kobe Simmons, Ben McLemore, or is it Marshawn Brooks, or is it Dylan Brooks? So much uncertainty. Jarrell Martin was playing okay, 15 points in 22 minutes, but he suffered an ankle injury late. We don't have the full information on that one just at this point, but we'll have to pay some attention to see how he actually goes, because if he is out and then JaMychal Green is out, then you're looking at Ivan Rabb as an option. And Rabb was pretty good here, 16 and 7 in 27 minutes. So someone to pay attention to who could actually impact the last couple of games. I think you need to drop Marcus Gasol. 20 minutes, 0 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists. He just won't play 30 minutes a game ever again this season. And there is a back-to-back coming up, and he's definitely going to miss one of those games. Onto the Pelicans. Tone Davis, 28 and 12, 2 steals and 3 blocks. Excellent. Nick Mirotic back in the starting lineup. Sons Beard, 25 and 7 with a block and 3 triples. Very good-looking line. 83% shooting. Impossible for that to keep happening. You know, I like Mirotic. I readily admit that he has struggled significantly in New Orleans, and I've said for a while that he shouldn't be owned. You can go and grab him if you want. I wouldn't be banking on him starting every game for the rest of the year, or, of course, shooting like this. Holiday had 15, 3 and 6 with 3 steals, while Rondo, this is the Rondoest line you can get, 2 points, 7 rebounds, 13 assists, helps you in those areas that you know that he helps you in. Ian Clark also suffered an ankle injury, so deeper leagues might want to pay some attention to someone like Larry Drew if they do decide to give him a rest of season contract. His 10-day contract ends today. The Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors, man, the Celtics, they're just so banged up. Greg Monroe played 23 minutes.
as Greg runs in, we realise this could get dangerous.
Nobody, or maybe some people did, but nobody ever said that he couldn't score still. 17 and 8 in 23 minutes, and with them basically locked into the 2 seed, I think you're going to see some guys limited in their playing time. Rozier, Tatum, Jalen, Al Horford. I think you're not going to see 34, 35 out of them. You're probably going to see 27, 28, and that could allow Greggy to get some extra playing time. Horford was nice. Marcus Morris also pretty good, 21 and 5 in 34 minutes, and Morris is an okay 12-team league guy here down the stretch. Rozier returned. He had 2 and 9 in 28 minutes. 1 of 9 from the field, which is obviously putrid, while Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, neither of those guys cracked 30 minutes and both players struggled, and I would expect a few more games with some limited minutes as guys like Kadeem Allen and Jabari Bird and Abdul Nadir really start to carry this team in these meaningless contests. The Raptors now locked in, or almost locked into the number 1 seed, so I think you're going to see games with DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. At least if they don't get rested, they're going to play limited minutes, but that's going to open up tons of value for their bench players. We know how good these guys are. DeLon Wright had 8, 9, and 8 with 2 steals and 2 blocks in 27 minutes. Freddie VanVleet had 15, 3, and 4. Pascal Siakam, 3 and 2 in 16 minutes. Pirtle had 9 and 3 in 17 minutes. But these are guys who are going to get minutes, or does Dwayne Casey go just completely sick and give Norm Powell and Bebe Nogueira and Malcolm Milley and Kennedy Meeks and all these other guys, their third string guys, because their bench is too valuable to risk? Do they give those guys minutes? Lorenzo Brown. There's going to be some. Lorenzo Brown's going to have a big game at some point. I feel pretty confident about that. But now that they're almost locked in there, there's going to be some interesting things go down. You know that I like Wright, and if they start giving him 30 a night, he will be a must-own guy for the last couple of games. The last game of the night, the San Antonio Spurs and the Los Angeles Lakers, an overtime contest. Aldridge continues to get it done, 28 and 9, and I talked about DeJounte already. The Spurs also made a change to their starting lineup. Pau Gasol replaced Dan Green. Green played 22 off the bench, but Gasol had 29 and 11 and 12, but that doesn't mean that's going to be the lineup every game, and I wouldn't be scurrying to add Pau. Kyle Anderson also was pretty good, 9 and 4 with 3 steals, but at this point, he is more just a steals or defensive type specialist. On to the Lakers, no Lonzo, no Brandon Ingram, so KCP was great once more. 21, 6, and 6, while the future MVP Kyle Kuzma had 30 points with 5 triples and 5 rebounds. Clearly, must-own players. Now, in this one, Julius Randle and Brook Lopez were benched so that Ivica Zubac and Channing Frye could play out down the stretch. Frye had 19 and 4, while Zubac had 8, 6, and 6. Don't think that's necessarily replicable, especially as the playing time is not going to be that high. But these are the weird things that happened. Well, Josh, the Hitman Hart, got 34 minutes, had 8 and 10, far from his most effective game, and he's just a fringe sort of a player, but can have some value as long as Lonzo and Ingram are both out. Let's talk some DFS action now from Wednesday's games on FanDuel, the perfect lineup. This is just, Ish Smith, 42.6 and DeJounte Murray, 50. Shooting guards, JJ Redick, 37.4 and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 36.2. Joshie Richardson, 47.8 and Etuan Moore, 48.2. Tone Davis, 58.4 and LaMarcus Aldridge, 49.8 and Pau Gasol, 31.9 for a total of 402.3, and that cost $58,500. On DraftKings, Ish Smith 43.25, Etuan Moore 48.25, Joshie Richardson 42, Tone Davis 57, Bismack Biyombo 38.5, Marshawn Brooks 44.5, LaMarcus Aldridge 48.75, and DeJounte Murray 50.5. That's a total of $372.75, and it cost $49,200 dues. Again, another disclaimer. Really, really limit your DFS exposure, and if you can avoid it, don't play at all. It's as simple as that. At this time of the year, playoffs are a different story, but at this time of the year, do not play DFS. And in saying that, here are my thoughts for DFS for tomorrow. The Golden State Warriors and the Indiana Pacers is the first game we're going to take a look at. The Warriors are favored by 2, and the total is 212.5. Andre Iguodala is doubtful with the knee issue that's kept him out, while Shawnee Livingston's questionable with personal issues, while Kevon Looney and Draymond are both listed as probable. If Livingston is out, it opens up minutes for Uncle P, Nick Young, but of course he's only a tournament sort of a player. At point guard, Daz Collison, 5,900 for Dazza. He's been putting up numbers in that range recently, a 28 average over the last three. The Warriors are quite good defensively against point guards. Different personnel around now, so that could have, there could be some cash value in Daz at least. Corey Joseph, Sean Livingston, no. While Quinn Cook at 6,000. Cook's been good. He hasn't quite been at that level recently with just a 29 average over his last five, which is not far off. But it's not like blowing through it. That salary has evened the playing field, I guess, a little bit for what Quinn can do, and he's not this, absolute must-roster guy. At shooting guard, I like Victor Oladipo, 9,500, just getting defensive numbers every single time he plays, seemingly. So I like Oladipo here, while Clay at 6,500. He's a fairly consistent 30-plus guy at the moment, Thompson, so I don't mind using Clay in this one against Indiana. Lance Stevenson and Bojan Bogdanovic are your quintessential tournament GPP sort of small forwards, while Durant at 11,000. Really hard to go past that. You're looking at a cash guy there, 11,000, 55 points. Absolutely, why not? He should be able to get 50 fairly comfortably here, Durant. At power forward, Thaddeus is at 6,000. Not sure I love the matchup with Draymond. As for Draymond at 82, I definitely don't like that price. Sabonis, Dave West. No. Kevon Looney at 5,200 with his ability to stack up the blocks and the 3-point block scoring on FanDuel. That can make him an interesting guy, but at 5,200 it's pretty high. Well, Jordy Bell's at 46, and I think there's a lot of value taken out of that pricing. Miles Turner's at 61. We know he's been shithouse. He does have a pretty good record against the Warriors. I do like him as a tournament guy. I think that he will be low owned. While I don't even know who will be the Warriors starting center. JaVale, Zaza, or will it be Kevon Looney? The only one of those guys you'd even really consider is Looney in this situation. On DraftKings, is nothing that I look at and 100% love. Actually, this game for DraftKings, I don't even believe it's included in their main slate. No, it's not. So I don't even have the prices here. Most of the other stuff remains the same though, with in terms of values and stuff like that. If you are using that single game option, which I believe that they have for tomorrow. The next game we take a look at, the Washington Wizards and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs are favored by 5.5, and the total is 220. We need to check on the status of Georgie Hill, who is dealing with that ankle injury that's kept him out the last couple. If he is out, Jose Calderon, who was big in the last game, becomes an option. But of course, the value that he put up last game was a season best, and it's unlikely to be replicated. Johnny Wall's at 8,700. Point guards against the Cavs was an excellent strategy earlier in the season. It hasn't been the case recently. And 8,700 for John feels just a little bit too high, whereas Georgie Hill, I don't think I'd want to go there, given how up and down, especially down, his performances have been. Beal is at 7,800. A nice game last time back with Wall around, over 40 points in only 29 minutes for Beal. I think he is not a bad option here, but he's not one of my favorites. Jordy Clarkson, Kyle Korver, Rocket Rodney Hood, the plumber J.R. Smith, just guys that you would consider for tournaments. Maybe I'd look at Clarko a bit more, but probably not. LeBron, 11,700.
LeBron James.
Yeah, look, again, always tough to go past LeBron. You feel pretty good about using him or Durant in that small forward spot, while Otto Porter at 7,000. I think marginally a little bit, just marginally too high there for Otto, and there'll be other directions I'd rather spend that money on. Kelly Oubre Jr.'s at 4,700. Really no cash value in him. Tournaments maybe, but there will be better tournament guys around. Kevin Love is at 7,400. Like that price for Lovey. He dropped to 41 in the last game. I think that he is fine to use. And Markieff Morris at 58 is also in a decently solid spot, especially for cash games. Laz Nance at 47. Nope, no confidence at all. While Jeff Green and Mike Scott are also guys I don't want anything to do with. At center, Marcin Gortat, no, this is a terrible matchup for him. Tristan Thompson and Jan Mahinmi, so a whole bunch of nothingness going on in this one. Over on DraftKings, Otto Porter, great price, 6,100. Marquee, 57, love it. And LeBron, 11.6. Really strong, all those guys. I think Love at 7,600 is also in a good spot over on DraftKings. Let's go on to the next game now. We've got the Trailblazers. We've got the Houston Rockets. Damian Lillard is listed as doubtful, so I don't think that he is going to play. Trevor Ariza should be back for Houston, but there could be other rests going on in Houston, no doubt. At point guard, Napier, 3,600 on FanDuel, almost a 100% guarantee. Well, no, that's not true. There's not a guarantee that he's going to exceed that value, but I think that you almost have to play him in tournaments and in cash. It's going to be really tough to go past that. While Chrissy Paul at 7,600 was disappointing last game, but that is a low price and it's a high upside situation. So I think that I do like Paul as a tournament guy. While Wade O'Baldwin is at 3,700. He had a nice performance the last time out when Lillard wasn't there, but I don't think that we need to be getting super excited. Shooting guards, McCollum's at 7,200. That is a very sexy price for CJ, so I'm all about using that for cash. While Jim Harden at 11,000. I think I'd rather the Durant 11,000 or the LeBron 11,500, but I don't hate using Harden here. He's putting up big numbers still, even though he really should be resting. He is still going okay, and he's totally fine to consider. At small forward, Ariza's at 48. Don't care. Nothing. Eric Gordon's another small shooting guard. No. Small forward, Gerald Green at 4,200. Like it. Numbers are consistent. Minutes are consistent. Cash. Tournament upside, sure, no worries with Gerald Green there. While Joe Johnson, PJ Tucker, Evan Turner are also small forwards that you shouldn't pay attention to. At power forward, the Chief, Al-Farouq Aminu.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
5,400 for the Chief. He has been putting up numbers commensurate with that, with a 27 average over his last 5. We know he can be up and down, but with Mo Harkless out, he's been more up than down, and it's a nice price drop that puts him in range and should make him really a solid cash option in a lot of cases. Marmute and Swanigan, no. At center, Yusuf Nurkic. This could have disaster written all over it, but he has played well against Houston in the past, Nurk. And at 7,500, he's clearly got 45-point upside, and that makes him a tournament useful guy. While Clint Capella at 7,300 has struggled against Nurk, I think there is risk elements in terms of rest with Capella here and the eye injury he suffered last game, so that's as a no from me. While Myers, Leonard, Nene, and Zach Collins, I don't think they're really coming into calculations all that much. On DraftKings, I love McCollum at 7,500. Shabazz Napier's up to 53 there. That's an aggressive price rise for Napier. I still don't mind it, but it is nowhere near the must-play situation that it is over on FanDuel. Harden at 11.4 is, again, less appealing. Chris Paul is less appealing, but Nurkic is more appealing. So I do like Nurk, and I would even consider him a cash guy at 6,600. Let's go on to the next game now. We've got the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks are favored by 8.5, and the total is 220 points. The blue swimmer, Alan Crabb, is listed as probable, while Damari Carroll has been ruled out for the Nets. Matty Dellavedova, Malcolm Brogdon, they are also out for the Bucks. At point guard, Eric Bledsoe, point guards against the Nets, that's been a consistent. He's at 8,200, putting up big numbers most games. I like Bledsoe here quite a bit. While Spencer Dinwiddie at 4,700, there's way too much inconsistency with Dinwiddie to consider him a must-roster cash guy, but there is some tournament value there, but odds are us telling me that it won't come true. D'Angelo's at 6,800, D'Angelo Russell, that is a shooting guard, but it's only for GPPs. While Tone Snell, Jason Terry, Source Castillo, and Sterling Brown are your other shooting guards. You got Karis LeVert there too at 5,400, who's a decent tournament guy. Small forward, Jumpin' Joe Harris, 3,900. No Damari Carroll, potentially ill Alan Crabb. I love Joe Harris at 3,900 there. I think there is real value in him. While Crabb at 4,200 is more GPP, and Yanni at 11.5. Again, one of those elite small forwards that you can be plugging in along with Durant and LeBron. Power forwards, Jabari at 55. The numbers have been pretty good recently for Parker, especially the playing time. The 55 is a little bit too high for me to lock in cash, but I like him quite a bit for tournaments. While the Muppet John Henson at 5,600, just giving you 28 a night pretty much is what Henson's doing, and that's absolutely fine at 5,600. While Rondé Hollis Jefferson is now down to 6,600. He was not good last game. I do expect a bounce back from Rondé, and I think at 6,600 you can be considering him as a cash option. At center, Jarrett Allen at 5,000. Do we get Big minute Jared Allen? Do we get small minute Jared Allen? Really hard to rely upon that. Tyler Zoa, probably not happening with him either. Let's go on to the DraftKings side of this game. D'Angelo at 65 is a nice GPP guy, while the Muppet, Rondé, Bledsoe, Yanni are all fairly strong cash guys. Chrissy Middleton, I think, is too highly priced on both sites. Let's go on to the next one now. It's the LA Clippers, it's the Utah Jazz. It's a game with significant playoff implications. The Rooster, Danilo Gallinari, is out with that hand issue. So that's important to note. At point guard, love Austin Rivers here. 5,300, absolutely love it. Can't really go past that. While ravishing Rick Rubio is at 7,900. That's really expensive. Now, Rubio has been putting those numbers to bed pretty comfortably. But how good do you feel about Rubio just comfortably dropping 45 every night? I don't, but he has been doing it. So that's part of it. I don't think I'd go there. Sindarius, Thornwell, and Dante Exum. Yeah, Thornwell at minimum salary with the opportunity to start with Gallinari out is maybe a tournament player. At shooting guard, the Donovan Mitchell, 7,700. Lock it in, cash, love it. Lou Williams, 6,600. Also pretty bloody sexy. I think this is a really strong, stackable cash game, just given the way these teams are and what they're fighting for still this season. While the list manager, Ty Wallace, is at 4,700. The production's been a little bit low for Wallace. He's going to get 32, 33 minutes, no worries. But does he get enough of the counting stats to push you to 25 points? That's where the concern lies. At small forward, you got Jingle Joe, who's dealing with a knee issue. He's at 6,500. Probably wouldn't have been on my radar anyway, while Royce O'Neal and Wes Johnson are also players who play small forward. At power forward, Derek Favors at 5,900, just giving you high 20s every game, and I don't mind that for cash, especially with the uncertainty around the NBA. The table, Montrezl Harrell at 44, also he's giving you 20 every night as well, and with the Rooster out, it opens up more power forward minutes for Harrell, and I think that he is a fairly strong cash guy. Jay Crowder, no, not really. Well, Toby Harris at 7,000. Love that. Love Toby. I think that's an absolute smashable cash play there for Toby Harris, despite the nature of the opposition. Speaking of the nature of the opposition, that's all fueled by Rudy Gobert. He's at $9,000, and I think that might be just a little bit too high, but centers have been really putting up good numbers against DeAndre Jordan and the Clippers recently. So if there's a game that you want Gobert to go for 50, this could be the one. I think it's more for tournaments though, whereas Jordan at 7,000, bad matchup. Not as bad as what it has been in the past, but still it's not ideal at this current stage. But I just think there are better ways around it than spending that on DeAndre. Let's go to the DraftKings side of things. Gobert and Crowder are your GPP guys, whereas for cash, it's Favors, Rivers, Lou Williams, Ravishing Rick at 7,000, and the Don at 71. I love Donovan Mitchell there at 7,100. Jingle Joe at 59 looks appealing. I'm just a little bit worried about the knee bruise that's bothering him. And Toby Harris at 67 is pretty bloody hard to go past. It's last game of the day, another game. And to be honest, this slate of games for Thursday, they're all going to be relatively competitive, which is great for us in terms of trying to work out the value of these guys. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. Jimmy Butler is doubtful, while Derrick Rose and Jeff Teague are both questionable. Now, Rose apparently was available to play last game, didn't, and now he's questionable again. So we'll see how that all goes down. At point guard, if he plays, Jeff Teague at 6,800 is one of the better options on the board. A great matchup in a game they need to win without Jim Butler. That's fantastic if he plays. The Blue Arrow, Jamal Murray at 7,900. He is just rolling in minutes at the moment. He's putting up almost 35 a night over his last 5. I like him here quite a bit. While Tyus Jones, of course, at 3,800. If Teague is out,
My name is Jeff.
then Tyus becomes a strong option. You could get away with having a Tyus Jones, Shabazz Napier point guard combo, enabling then you to have a Durant-Yanni, LeBron Durant small forward combination potentially. So that is one of those possibilities that could arise here. At shooting guard, still no Gaz Harris, but you've got Farton Will Barton at 7,300. Like him. Andy Wiggins at 64. Hate him, except Butler's out and Teague might be. So that should give him enough impetus to at least give you the cash value, potentially more. So I like Wiggo. While Jamal Crawford at 3,900 is your tournament guy, and that is it. Small forward, Bielitsa is at 4,400. The numbers and the production have been fairly muted, but I love that the price has come down this much. I love the quality of the opposition at that position. So 4,400 for Nemanja is absolutely a tournament one, given the expectations, while Baby Neck, Wilson, Chandler, I'll go a different direction there. Taj Gibson at power forward. Numbers haven't been great. I do think that Taj at 5,100 is not a bad cash play, given the opposition that we're up against, while Paulie Millsap at 7,500, maybe pushing just a little bit too high, but I don't hate it. At centre, great matchup. Townsy, $10,000. Bang, I'm in. Nikola Jokic, $11,000. Bang, I am also in. So you could also be running a LeBron Jokic, a Towns Durant combination with those cheap point guards like a Tyus and Shabazz, really setting you up to get those big name players and who are going to have consistent minutes. So we know that Towns and Jokic are both going to be pushing 40 minutes majority of the time and putting up absolute ripper lines the majority of their time out on the court. On DraftKings, very similar scenario. Teague is good value at 68 if he plays. And then you've got Barton, Murray, Towns, and Jokic, all as excellent cash and tournament players. Let's now go on and wrap this up by looking at the other sites. On Yahoo, tournaments, you've got Jamal Murray, Karis LeVert, Jarrett Allen, Joe Harris, Jay Crowder, Geordie Clarkson, Looney, and Rocket Rodney Hood. And for cash and tournaments, it's Jamal Crawford, Montrezl Harrell, Ty Wallace, Shabazz Napier, Johnny Henson, Eric Bledsoe, Gobert, Towns, Jokic, and Yanni. On Moneyball for tournaments, Jimmy Harden, Jeff Teague, Jabari Parker, Jumpin' Joe Harris. And for cash and tournaments, we've got The Table, Shabazz Napier, Taj Gibson, Markieff Morris, The Muppet, Austin Rivers, Derek Favors, Andy Wiggins, Farton, Will Barton, CJ McCollum, The Blue Arrow, Eric Bledsoe, Towns, Jokic, and Antetokounmpo. And on Draft Stars for tournaments, Nurkic, Rubio, D'Angelo, Jabari, Markieff, Kelly Oubre Jr. And for cash and tournaments, Shabazz Napier, The Muppet, Favors, Rivers, Barton, McCullum, Beal, Jamal Murray, Bledsoe, Antetokounmpo, Townsy, and Nick Jokic. Don't forget, if you do listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and review. It's a great way of supporting the show. And do the same for your favorite podcasts across the Locked On Podcast Network, which you can find at lockedonsports.com or on Twitter at LockedOnNBANet, and the same handle over at Facebook. My name is Josh Lloyd. I'm the lead fantasy analyst at Basketball Monster. We're going to be doing playoff DFS projections over at Basketball Monster. There's going to be playoff versions of this podcast for that as well, plus off-season recaps. And I've started doing some NCAA statistical translation stuff for the 2000 NBA draft as well. So you'll get all that content in the coming months. We are done here, guys. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Tommy Heinsohn.